Welcome back. I'm Tyler Woods. I'm reading my book my book Days of Ragnarok, and this is a novel that I wrote. And uh, we're picking up where I left off, and we're on page 109. Huts. This is back to Jason's perspective. I can see the weight of leadership that my dad carries. As heavy as it is, it also seems to strengthen him. Or is it God's grace that strengthens him to carry an even heavier load? Dad is still my role model. Mom continues to walk arm in arm with Anna. She is very pleased to have her children close. Beyond the utility buildings are a curved line of common-sized huts. They partially encircle the community and utility buildings. Anna, I've been so excited to have you come. The huts are sparse, but I found some curtains for your windows. Beds are another thing. Boards are scarce from what the men have been able to scavenge from abandoned buildings. They make doors, shutters, and platforms that we loosely call beds. The beds take some getting used to. Mom lifts the door latch to the hut. The floor is hard and smooth, like the community building, and the hut is an open room with a small table, a chair, and a platform covered with a woven mat of long grass. The room is about 10 feet by 12, with a small window at the front and another in back. It's enough room for sleeping, but it's hardly a house. Adobe walls and a domed ceiling give protection from the sun and provides a cool feeling. Mom, this is better than Anna pauses to find the right word. Feared, Mom laughs. No, I didn't know what to expect, but this is nice. This is a nice little house. Anna can tell her cheeks are flushed, but she is sincere and Mom knows it. Both women laugh. Anna walks to the bed and feels the grass mat. What is this? It's something the younger women make. They aren't a store-bought mattress, but it beats sleeping on a board or on the ground. There's so much work here that everyone does what they can. The children often help as much as grown-ups. So we've taken to calling any child above the age of 6 a younger man or woman. In this case, your mat was woven of Johnson grass by the Palmer girls, Kristen, Kelly, and Corey. You'll meet them later. The room grows dark as Dad and I step through the doorway. Mom looks up with a smile. Well, you two must have taken the long way here. I give Anna a kiss and apologetically say, I'm so sorry I wasn't here to carry you over the threshold. Please forgive me. Anna smiles and replies, just make sure it doesn't happen again. As she notices Scott isn't with us, where's Scott? No sooner does she ask than the sound of the Ranger's diesel grows closer and stops at the door. Scott's voice announces, movers are here. Need any of this stuff? We bring in our things along with the package from Rita. Anna sees it and says, Mom, I almost forgot. Rita sent a gift for you. I think it's something special. She told me about it, and it is very special. Please put it back in the Ranger, and I'll get it later. Rita is an amazing woman. Thanks for bringing it to me. Mom stays to help Anna arrange their few things, and then talk more as we find Scott a place to stay. Taking the Ranger down a row of huts, Dad explains, Scott, we house single men in bunkhouse style. We don't plan on staying here permanently, and for the sake of efficiency, this works best for now. I hope you don't mind. I don't mind at all, Scott replies. It will give me a chance to meet some of the other guys. How many to a hut? I see they're all about the same size. Dad says keeping all the huts the same size was a suggestion from one of our ladies. They call it cookie cutting, and it simplifies making many of the same kind of structure. There's a team putting up a new hut at the end of the row. They started day before yesterday and should be done tomorrow by dinner. The younger men and women love the last day, because they get to play in the mud. We dig a shallow pit and line it with a tarp. Add the clay, sand, grass, and water, then turn the youngsters loose to stomp it into adobe. We add lime and mix the last coat by hand to keep the rain out. A hut can house as many as 6 people, but we'd like to keep it to 4 for now. The hut you'll be in has Randy Fowler, George Harden, and John Stubbs. You'll be the 4th. They're good guys. I'm sure you'll enjoy their company. I perk up at one of those names. Is that Randy Fowler from Houston? We graduated high school together at Lamar. How's he doing? The very same Randy. You can ask him yourself at dinner. He's working at the pit and should be back around 4. Dad knows all the people and their schedules. He seems to hold a personal regard for each member at the camp. It is the same at our business. No matter where he goes, he knows everybody and calls them by name. It always amazes me how he does it. Here we are. There aren't any fancy curtains, but the locals respect each other's personal space. Windows stay open most of the time, so we build them a little higher and work with it. Joking with Scott, I ask, "Can I help you with your bags to your room, sir?" Scott jokes, "I can handle it. You'll ask for a tip if I let you help." Scott takes his large single duffel bag into the hut and sets it on an empty bunk. All moved in. We drive back to the utility buildings where Dad continues the tour. This first building is our communications center. It isn't manned during the day, but it gets busy at night. We have a mobile HF radio that can work everything from 10 to 80 meter, but we only use 40 and 80 because that's all we can get out of this canyon. Scott interjects, "Jim told us about it. That's NVIS, right?" Dad replies, "I think you're right. That's the name the radio guys throw around. I'm not a ham operator, but we have 2 in the group that are. They are a big help to us. I don't know what we would do without regular contact with Jim. He's our go-for guy and has been able to get us almost anything we need." Dad continues, "For local communication, we have plans for a small remote radio on the ridge line that will receive and retransmit our signals from down here to others in our group that are outside of the canyon. Pat Wagner can explain all this, but he's rigged up a low-power radio that uses a smartphone or a PDA. I'm not real sure which, but it lets you send text messages on very low power. If we communicate with text messages, the repeater radio can operate on low power too, and we'll be able to run it from a battery and a solar charger. Like I said, Pat can explain all that better than I can. Communicating by text now requires us to send someone up the canyon ridge to make each radio connection. When that repeater radio is working, we'll be able to stay down here and still talk outside the canyon." Dad walks over to an area with many small boxes that have names on each. This is where messages are passed. Like a post office, everyone has a box or slot, and individual messages can be passed between the group members. Pointing to a large overhead board, group-wide messages are tacked up here on this board. There's a notice posting today's date and what dates we have radio contact with Jim. Another notice is a reminder of the cutoff for supply requests to Jim. There is another post that announces birthdays. Wow, Dad, you've thought about everything. Not me, Jason. We have group meetings, and this all came from them. It's amazing to watch. Traveling outside the circle of huts, Dad takes us on a 4-wheeler trail past another small building and up an incline. You remember the spring where we got our water? When it was just us, it supplied more than enough. But with over 5 times the people, there isn't a drop to waste. This is what we need the poly pipe for. The ranger comes to a stop near where the group of men are working. Some are digging a ditch, while others are unrolling and splicing pipe together. Our plant operations foreman, Fred Livingston, and one of our civil engineers, Harry Taylor, are here. "Fred, Harry, how goes it? I see you managed to get the light work while Ted, Mark, and Dennis got stuck with the back work." "Hey, Matt," says Harry. "Well, someone has to supervise and tell these guys which end of the shovel goes down." Everyone takes a short break, shakes hands, and welcomes Scott and me to camp. Dad continues, "Looks like you're making progress. Would you mind explaining to Scott and Jason what it is we're up here to?" Fred speaks first. "Sure. The spring water runs all day and night, so most of it runs right back into the ground. We run a pretty consistent bucket brigade to camp, but it's a poor use of hard work. Someone mentioned they could put a garden hose um, to use here, and the idea got momentum. We're building a spring box out of stone, and we'll line it with some red clay we found. It should create a backwater reservoir. We'll run the poly pipe from here to camp and have low pressure water service to the kitchen, wash huts, and laundry. Wastewater from each of those will be sent to the garden. We won't be wasting much, and nobody will have to tote buckets anymore. Scott asks, can you bury it all the way? Harry adds, not all the way, but we need to keep it buried, or the sun will turn this pipe into a water heater. There are some rocky places to cross, so we plan to pile material on it to bury it above ground. Most of it will get buried below. Would you like to help? I'm sure one of these boys would loan you a shovel. Not yet, says Dad. We're giving them the grand tour today. They'll pick a place to help later. When it dawns on me what those buildings are at each end of the garden area, are those the wash huts and laundry we saw near the garden? Yes, and we'll head there next. Fred, Harry, see you guys at dinner. It's looking good. With that, we turn the Ranger around and head back down the hill. The wash huts are much different than I expect. They have doors on 4 sides, each opening to a small private room with a shower stall. They are elevated by about 4 feet, and the shower-like enclosures are over what look like shipping pallets. Silver tarps are suspended beneath to catch water runoff. In the stall are a bucket of water and a small dipper. The best you can get is a splash bath, but it will get the job done. More important is that every drop of wastewater is collected and sent to the garden. Hanging on the wall is a small mirror to shave by. I'm sure Anna will have some comments, but she's one girl who knows how to make do with what's available. Dad explains, this took a while to get used to, especially for the ladies, but most have adapted to it. The breeze coming through the open 18 inches between the roof and walls is a big help for now, but we may have to tighten things up when the weather gets cool. We built this with scavenged material from derelict buildings in the area. It went to top priority after an embarrassing close call near the spring. Scott and I chuckle with Dad as we imagine how those close calls could happen. Dad adds, depending on who was embarrassed, I can imagine how high on the list it became. Well, let's just say it went straight to the top and exceeded all other needs, Dad replies. Don't tell me it was Mom, I gasp, but Dad only grins while Scott covers his eyes. Anna and Mom don't take long to finish up at the hut. They continued catching up on their walk to the old cabin. Anna is curious how Mom and Dad dealt with some of the challenges. You must have been really surprised by all the unexpected people that showed up here. How did you handle it emotionally? I mean, everything you planned went up in smoke. Mom gives Anna's arm a little squeeze as she explains it wasn't easy. You're right about the plans. We always knew the economy was in trouble and that a crash was possible, even inevitable, but you're never really ready when it comes. In our best plans, we counted on 6 people with a margin for up to 4 more, but 50 was way more than I thought possible. Some are accepting all the change better than others. Matt, Harry, Fred, and Pat are the leadership council, but they have earned the respect of the entire group. Work groups are designed like small groups we have at church. Each group has at least one very stable leader who can help the struggling ones with their concerns and fears. We all have plenty of those to go around. Arriving at the old cabin, Mom invites Anna in. The cabin is not large by most standards, but does have 2 bedrooms and a futon couch at one end of the single room that serves as kitchen, dining room, and living room. Mom continues, Fred and Irene Livingston stay with us and have the other bedroom. With a smirk, she said, we old people need to stick together. Anna asked, isn't Fred over plant operations? I think I met them once. That's them. Our largest family at camp is the Wagner clan. Gary and Melinda have 4 children. They came with Pat and Marge Wagner. They brought 30 laying hens and 6 dairy goats, along with the rest of their trailer full of food and supplies. Everyone is welcome here, but the eggs and dairy were especially welcome. After Harry and Rachel Taylor decided to move to the community building along with Stephanie Sweeney, we took in two of the single girls, Nikki and Jackie Chambers. You'll like them. They sleep on the futon in the living room. It's crowded, but not bad, and better than some of the huts with families of 5. The Wagoners are 6, but their 2 older boys stay in the single men's huts. Mom, did you ever think you might have to turn someone away? I've read a lot about the preparedness mind and that they explain the lifeboat decision where your lifeboat is full and one more will capsize the boat and all perish. I understand what they're saying, but I can't picture myself turning someone away who's just seeking safe haven. Matt and I partly prepared for that by coming here. We are far enough away from the masses that we didn't think anyone would find us. As they came, they were friends and family and people we knew. How could we turn them away? They had risked their lives just getting here. So we determined that those who came were directed and delivered by God's grace. Who were we to turn them away? So just like God provided for the widow at Zarephath to feed the prophet Elijah during a famine, we would trust the same God to feed us and his refugees. The process has been amazing. Scott, Dad, and I walked past the garden of a utility building to a utility building on the far side. It is raised off the ground by the height of the 55-gallon drums, visible beneath the floor. Construction resembles more of a covered patio than a building. The walls are only half high, making this laundry impressive. Roxanne Bellows is in charge of laundry operations. She steps down from the washing area to greet her guests. Her soft brown hair accompanies deep brown eyes. Scott is speechless when he sees her. She has what has become what his mother called a strong chin, and she definitely carries herself as a competent worker. Hello, Mr. Connors. What can I do for you? Roxanne, this is my son Jason and his brother-in-law Scott. Would you mind explaining your work here? More than pleased to show their operation, she explains, I'd be glad to. We find hot water, a little detergent does most of the work. Getting the water hot isn't a problem with these solar heated barrels. We have lots of sunshine. Our problem is keeping them filled. The new water line will be of great help. Roxanne walks them through their washing process. 2 sets of 3 wash tubs arranged in a triangle pattern comprise their washing machines. A hand-cranked wringer can move between any 2 tubs. The first tub holds soapy water, followed by 2 tubs of clean water for rinsing. Agitation is manual, but plans for a wind-driven agitator are coming. Lightly soiled clothing washes first, followed by heavy work clothes. From the soapy water, clothes go through the wringer into the first rinse tub, and then to a second rinse before being hung to dry. When the soapy water becomes too dirty, it's drained into holding barrels to cool and eventually used to water the garden. Hot, clean water is put in the tub that becomes the new second rinse tub, while more soap is added to the tub previously used for the first rinse, and that becomes the first wash tub. The progression conserves the most water and allows for an efficient laundry process. Washed clothes are hung on a line to dry and then sorted by laundry mark. Clothes are marked by a laundry pen with the number of each person's box in the communication hut. We are impressed with the organization and process that Roxanne has developed. Roxanne worked in billing for OSI along with Nikki and Jackie Chambers. All 3 women are quite attractive, in their 20s, very capable at taking care of themselves and whatever business occupies them. When national default was announced, the 3 girls packed up what they had and headed for camp. They had been here once before when Mom organized a girls' retreat for the women of OSI. Fortunately, Nikki had the coordinates saved on her GPS and they arrived before the EMP hit. Nikki now works in the Camp Communication Center, and Jackie, who has advanced first aid training, works at the medical hut. Having these ladies operate key functional areas of camp greatly improves the attention paid by the single adult men to their laundry, communications, and proper care of minor wounds. A large garden spot stretches between the laundry and wash huts. Lisa Isham kept a large garden at their home in the hill country of north of San Antonio, so it made sense to have her head up this work at camp. Lisa's husband, Bob, built homes as a general contractor, but also serves as a game hunting guide, which is how we met him. Bob knew they could survive in the Big Bend area while the country mended, and our camp was the first place they came. Mom and Dad insisted they stay. Lisa's gardens are not traditional. The growing beds are raised with some stone and mortar sides. Water is added to 3-inch PVC pipe that carries it past the surface soil to the base of each raised bed. Dad greets Lisa by name and introduces Scott and me, as he has been doing all day, with everyone at camp. Then he asks Lisa to elaborate on this unique growing method. Lisa explains, these are called wicking beds. Sidewalls keep the dirt in, and we line the bottoms with heavy black sheet plastic that my husband used for foundation liners. In each bed, we've put a piece of 3-inch PVC pipe from the bottom to the top, so we can get water down and create an aquifer. 8 inches of sand under a foot of soil is all that's needed in each bed. Water levels are kept between 4 and 6 inches under these beds in the sand layer. Natural wicking and the root structure of the plants keeps them watered from below with very little evaporation. Our garden is growing, and we look to be producing for the kitchen in about 2 more weeks. Dad thanks her for the tour and says he can hardly wait for the fresh salads. At the Ranger again, we climb in and drive to the old cabin where we join up with Anna and Mom for dinner. People filter into camp. Some of them must be working at the place Dad called the pit because their clothes are very dirty. Some are covered with red dirt, others with much lighter colored dirt, and some aren't dirty at all but carry rifles and shotguns. A few have rabbits or birds they harvested. These go straight to the kitchen so the animals can be properly processed and cooked. Everyone seems somewhat hungry or happy and genuinely glad to see each other. Many stop by the communication building to check for messages, while others grab fresh clothes and head for the wash hut to clean up before dinner. Water buckets get loaded onto carts and wheeled from the spring to wash hut and kitchen. It's apparent the new water line will be a blessing for all, but especially for those who port water by bucket and cart. Camp is coming alive, and I hear my name called from behind to turn to see who it is. Jason Connors, I heard you made it to camp. It's Randy Fowler. We exchange a firm handshake and a hug between long friends. Randy, how long has it been? 3 years since the 20th class reunion? Haven't you found a woman to put up with you yet? Not yet. I'm saving myself and being selective. Not just any pretty face gets this handsome beast. I heard you did, though. I'd have attended the wedding, but you got married where only an Eskimo could drop in. North of the Arctic Circle, right? Not that far north. Anna, this is my high school buddy, Randy Fowler. Randy, this is Anna Connors, formerly Anna Iverson. Anna, I'm very pleased to meet you. My condolence for your choice of husbands. Anna is quick to pick up on the banter of old friends and is very capable to dish it back. Well, I caught him fair, and after looking him over, decided that he cleaned up pretty good. It's nice to meet you, Randy. Jason speaks of you often, mostly in a respectable manner. The pleasure's all mine, Anna, and I can tell that Jason has met his match. You're as beautiful as you are quick-witted. Congratulations to you both. Please excuse me to go wash for dinner. Jason, I'm looking forward to catching up. See you soon. Randy proceeds to his hut. Scott excuses himself to do a little exploring near the camp and to help draw water. He seems interested in something. And that's where we're going to close today. God bless and thanks for coming.